The prequels, whether you love them or hate them, you cannot deny that The Clone Wars was by far one of the best, actually I take that back, the best Star Wars show to have ever been made, as it not only expands on the prequels, but also has given us some of the most compelling and interesting characters and plot points that still to this day, over a decade after its creation, still holds a special place in our hearts. And while this show ran for 7 seasons, the first 6 being under the control of Lucasfilm and the 7th being a product of Disney, it's safe to say there's a lot of Clone Wars. However, if you've been watching recent interviews and some of the new Star Wars shows, you may have realized that they've been mentioning the Clone Wars a lot, especially in the live action. But while I'm not here to talk about a live action Clone Wars today, a question did raise, do we actually need an 8th season of the Clone Wars? Alright, before we dive in, I just want to get this out there. Everything I'm about to say is of my own opinion. You do not have to agree with me. And honestly, that's one of the best parts about being a Star Wars fan is debating these things. So please, feel free to share your thoughts and opinions about this in the comments down below. Now back to the video. This whole idea of mine started buzzing in the back of my head during the Kenobi series. Remember those heartbreaking Order 66 flashbacks? Even though they were brief and for a few short moments, they hit hard. And seeing the clones again in live action got me and so many other fans thinking, is there something larger going on here? Could Lucasfilm be hinting at more connections to the Clone Wars era? And then we got the Ahsoka show. Live action Clone Wars era Anakin. You guys know what I'm talking about. Hayden Christensen back in his prime, rocking the Jedi General look. Fans everywhere were losing their collective minds. And just when we thought it couldn't get any better, the actors themselves started talking about how they would love to do more Clone Wars stories. So naturally, the big question is, do we need a Star Wars continuation? Well, at first I thought we already got the perfect ending with Season 7, but then I started thinking what a Season 8 would actually mean, not just for the fans, but for Star Wars as a whole. Lately, let's face it, the franchise has been a hit or miss. For every Andor or The Mandalorian, there's been something like The Book of Boba Fett and The Acolyte, and many fans are beginning to lose hope, and others are walking away entirely. Could a Clone Wars Season 8 be the key to bringing everybody back? What if they made a Season 8? Well, here's the thing. When I say if, I mean a big if. Disney doesn't exactly have the best track record when it comes to living up to fans' expectations. Sure, they got great pitching ideas that sound great on paper, but when it comes to actual execution, well, let's just say the results can be mixed at best. Take The Acolyte, for example. This show had so much potential. A pre-Phantom Menace story focused on the Sith? Count me in. But when it finally dropped and everybody saw what it was, and yeah, it didn't exactly bring the fans together the way Disney had hoped. Instead, it did bring them together, but they all united under how bad the show was. And while I'd love to believe that the Clone Wars is too beloved for anyone to screw it up, let's not forget what happened to Luke, Han, Leia, and well, a whole bunch of other characters in the sequels that had everything going for them. I mean, there was literally dozens of books and countless comic books written about post-Return of the Jedi that could have been easily adapted into a movie format. And yet, they screwed it up bad. That said, there is still hope. We have seen what happens when Star Wars projects are led by people who truly understand the franchise. Shows like The Mandalorian, Andor, and Bad Batch have been a huge hit with the fans and critics. And speaking of The Bad Batch, it is probably one of my personal favorite shows. A clone-centered show that feels like a natural continuation of the Clone Wars? Yes please. It also proves that there's still a huge demand for this era, its stories, and its characters. As it answered so many questions we had, it also left us wanting more, and is one of the primary reasons so many of us are calling out for more Clone Wars. Now, here's the crazy part. Disney actually already has everything they need to make this happen. There is a treasure trove of unused Clone Wars episodes that were in development before the show got cancelled. Let me break it down. Now, I've already made a video about this topic, so I won't go into as much detail. But if you do want to watch the full video about this, make sure to click the link in the comments down below. So basically, there would have been multiple arcs, the first of which being an arc with the Bad Batch on Kashyyyk, an arc where Obi-Wan and Anakin investigate the death of a Jedi Master on Utapau and unveil a plot about the Death Star. Next, there would have been an arc with Cad Bane and a young Boba Fett. And it would have ended with Boba Fett and Cad Bane getting into a Western-style duel, where Boba would have got his iconic dent in his helmet. Next was an arc with Captain Rex and R2-D2, where they would help settle a dispute about who does more for the Republic. the pilots of the Republic or the ground forces. Next was an arc about Padme returning to Mon Cala, where she would investigate an attempted murder to get Palpatine out of office. There also would have been the Son of Dathomir arc. However, this also was already made into an official comic book series. In it, Maul, Dooku, and Mother Talzin fought against Palpatine and General Grievous, and would have ended with Mother Talzin's death. Next was probably one of the more interesting ones. It would have been about the Yuuzhan Vong and an alien-like abduction. Next was an arc about the discovery of a Sith shrine under the Jedi Temple, and we would have seen Anakin, Ahsoka, and Appa Rancisis in this as well as Palpatine as a Sith Lord. And cool enough, Ahsoka would have actually fought Palpatine, but would have never actually seen his face. And finally was the Dark Disciples arc. In this, we would have followed Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress as they attempted to kill Count Dooku, but this would later be made into a book. So yeah, they definitely have the source materials they need for a Clone Wars Season 8. Now, here's the catch. A lot of these old episodes were written pre-Disney era, and since then, the canon has evolved. It's unlikely that they will bring these arcs back to exactly what they were, but they could rework these ideas into fresh, new stories that fit with the modern timeline. And here is where my dream idea comes in. What if instead of animated, we got a live-action Clone Wars series? Picture this. Hayden Christensen, Ian McGregor, Tamura Morrison, and Rosario Dawson all reprising their roles. Imagine seeing a Clone Wars era brought to life in the same cinematic quality as a Mandalorian. It would unite the fans and bring back the actors we love and finally give us the definitive live-action Clone Wars experience. Now, do I think that this will happen anytime soon? Honestly, no. There is no chance of this happening anytime soon. But hey, in Star Wars, we've learned to never say never. Until then, we can keep dreaming and hope that Lucasfilm realizes just how much potential they're sitting on. So to answer the question I proposed at the start of the video, yes, I truly believe we need a Season 8 of the Clone Wars. So what do you guys think? Should we get a Clone Wars continuation? Do you want it animated, live action, or something entirely different? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts about this. Also, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure to like and subscribe as it would help the channel out a ton. Also, make sure to click on screen now to watch another video. And with that, my fellow Star Wars nerds, may the Force be with you.